Leah, class of 2012, and very grateful to be the Dean of Formation here at One Spirit. And I am blessed to be sitting with my sister, Rev Laureen, class of 2013. How are you today?
I am well. Thank you so much for this opportunity to sit with you, be in conversation with you. It's always a privilege.
Thank you for feeling like that, and also for being here um, to have this important conversation about how a student can expect to be prepared for a service here in the real world, how One Spirit helps to prepare people for real world service. In addition to being class of 2013, would you like to say more about the work that you have
So
here
I
at One
am
Spirit?
I'm also one of our pathways is the Interspiritual Counseling Program, and I am a graduate of that class of 2017. In addition to that, I'm on the board of trustees, and one of my other joys of service is that I am facilitator, or I should say co-facilitator, of One Spirit in Action, which is the sacred activism and service branch for One Spirit. And
Yeah.
that service arm is an outgrowth of my class. Two classmates of mine founded that, and so it is certainly very dear to my heart.
So have you been doing that since you graduated?
Close to it. I was certainly supporting them, and uh, is interesting. It started as making sandwiches for people that were homeless in the area, because at the time we had a physical location right in Midtown Manhattan. So
Hmm.
we would make sandwiches and peace notes and serve in that way. Then we've also participated in marches, and then we also did workshops where we had conversations around Islamophobia, and we had conversations around race. And so we've done so many different things. We had a long time series around incarceration. And so I've been participating pretty much from the beginning, but I would say that maybe a couple of years in was when I fully started to participate.
Beautiful. I know how integral that work of One Spirit in Action is for students when they come in because it's one of the
Yes.
places where they're invited to participate right away. How do you experience the cohorts as they come through?
It's really amazing because one of the things that's beautiful about One Spirit in Action is that we introduce, that this is an opportunity for you to fulfill your community service requirement.
Hmm.
And people come to the meeting, and I think when you come in as a cohort, you're still getting your feet wet, still trying to figure out what exactly did I say yes to. And as much as I'm like, oh well, come in and welcome, I'm like, oh, you here now, let's go. And so we remind people that exactly where you are can be of service, and can
Hmm.
be, you exercise leadership right where you are. And so if there's an idea, if there's something that's important to you, if there's a community that you think is not getting attention, raise it. And then the team gets together, discusses it, and we create programming based on what matters to the team. And so
That's
that's why I
really,
say I
mhm.
facilitate. I'm more of a co-facilitator, but it's not, normally people hear co-facilitator and they think, oh, one other person. When I say
Hmm.
co-facilitator, I mean that entire community facilitates with me. So there is no quote leader, if you will.
That's the one of the most beautiful things I think too about the co-leadership is that it's non-hierarchical.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's so important to keep practicing that, because perhaps in other parts of our lives we are
Hmm.
still very much given by the hierarchical structure. But
Right.
it doesn't mean that we operate compartmentalized. What I think is the
Mm.
beautiful thing is that when you're practicing a more collaborative, um, um, uh, something that is, if you will, decolonized in the way in which you practice and operate leadership, you bring that to the hierarchical structure, and you find ways to be to speak certain conversations and to keep or to ask certain questions that keeps disrupting the
Hmm.
hierarchical structure for something else to be possible. And so I think that's important. That's one of the things in which I would say being in one spirit is of service, is that you don't necessarily escape or hide here. You take what you learn here and you take it wherever you are. And, one of the ways in which I did that, I was in a corporate arena for a while and I certainly served. It was funny. Someone asked me to be the fire warden. So that was one of the ways that I was of service to the entire organization, was making sure that people were informed when there was an emergency, how would we go about it. And what was beautiful about that opportunity was I'm interacting with portfolio managers, executives, and I'm junior, but when it comes time for a disaster, it's like, oh, I need you to leave your office. And what they're doing is important. And I'm like, yeah, but so is everyone's life. And so I need you to stop what you're doing, to get up right now, and to leave your office. Thank you.
Thinking about moments like that, and you know, I'm sure this community of graduates has their own like real life story of like where the training came into play, right? The ministerial training, the training to serve your community comes into play in your so-called real world, right?
Hmm.
Where you interact most times. And just thinking about the training that I received, I feel like service was not optional. It was imperative. It was like a a parallel path or a integral component of this path. Wasn't just learning how to serve, but actually serving. Like we talked about the community service requirement you mentioned. Um, I just remember feeling that my heart for service had a place,
Yes.
that um, I wasn't necessarily being called to become something else, but to learn how to use my heart in service of my household, my community, and whichever ways that felt relevant and real to me in that moment. It also validated that I could serve, that I couldn't just desire to serve, but that I could actually fulfill that desire and contribute in a real way.
Hmm.
And when I was going through seminary, I was teaching at a middle school in Oakland. And so that's where that service came to play. I wasn't doing religious service. It was more of what I had been doing before I came into seminary, but with a fuller heart,
That's a beautiful way of
with more
saying that.
for sure. How about you? How did you experience
I
the
really love
training?
that. I think one of the things that you're speaking to that's important to understand is that so often people come into One Spirit already being of service.
Hmm.
And so, as you said, it's not so much you have to change, but there's a chance to both look at, well, where's the context from which you're serving. In some
Hmm.
cases, you realize that. We're operating maybe in opposition to something that only adds to the dynamic of separation. And when you have this
Hmm.
lens of interspirituality, you're like, okay, how can I now hold this not as opposition, but how can I hold paradox? How can I hold polarities? How can I like demonstrate oneness in
Hmm.
a way that allows allness, that allows all expressions to be validated, even if they're not workable when it comes to what serves the dignity of all. We're watching
Ooh.
our government do what it does, and there are ways that it is not serving. And
Hmm.
so we don't want to say that we hold it like, oh, it's all okay. It's
Right.
valid because it is a living expression of humanity. But we're
Hmm.
also going to say that is unworkable.
Right.
And what can I do to both hold the validity of it, but also speak to, address, um, and resolve and transform it? Like be a listening that transforms it, that allows something else to be discovered, that maybe has them
Yeah.
say, oh, you know what? I really am operating from, let's say, a wound that I've not tended to.
Hmm. This is so important. The text that we read definitely, like we read Ram Dass, How Can I Help?
How can I
Right?
help?
And so much of that text pointed me, I mean, it reoriented me towards my own heart because I think that prior to reading that and being in the program, I was thinking I needed to go somewhere to do something for someone else. And I hadn't included how much my own perspective, how much my own lens was operating within my desire to serve and my movement towards serving. You know, if I'm looking at you as my equal, that's different than if I see you as a person who needs something. It can be
Hmm.
different. And I believe one of the questions was who's helping? You know,
Yes.
who is the helper? And when I'm talking to people in discernment calls, um, it's apparent, like you said, that most people are coming in already oriented towards being people with helpful hearts, helpful hands, helpful minds, helpful words. And they are most often looking to see, do I belong here? Is this a place where I can become more and not less?
Yes.
Or even try something new. Some people are
Yes.
coming in having they're like winding up a career or one stage of life and they're looking to open up another more direct path like they did what they did for work and now they want to do something for their hearts or for the world for their community. So
Yes.
these are when we were talking earlier about um, how you see what needs to be helped, how you see the situation, and how we're evaluating it for the possibilities of co-creation and not just problem solving.
Yes. Oh, that's really powerful what you just said. And also, I was thinking of one of the real important things that you spoke to when you were referencing how can I help is who's helping, like the role of inquiry that we practice and that we participate in allows us to really investigate
Hmm.
who am I? Like, so I look at what's mine to do, but then there's who am I in the doing of it? Am I doing it in a frame of arrogance? Like I know a better
Hmm.
way? Am I doing it um, in a sense of superiority and already adding to the harm that superiority, that kind of difference that makes? So it's very interesting that one of the ways in which I would say One Spirit helps us serve is that inquiry, is that kind of developing, cultivating an awareness that when we say we believe in the dignity of all living things and all living beings, to move it from concept
Hmm.
to actual action. But
Right.
the action has to start with, oh, am I the being of that? And sometimes
Hmm.
you aren't. There's just, oh, look at that, and I'm acting like my way is the right way.
Constantly having to check motivation, right? And
Yes,
check
yes,
in with the heart because the heart for service is so clear. Stevie Wonder told us love is in need of love today. You know,
yes,
like our love wants to love. Our love wants to be about the business of loving, about the work of loving and the gifts of loving. And there's a container we need to shape in order
yes,
to hold the others and ourselves so that we're actually coming together in the service of love, whether or not I fix a problem or address it correctly or do everything according to what my mind thinks. I struggle with perfectionism, and so sometimes, you know, I can sit and think of a way more than actually being about doing the thing. But love is compelling,
it
and it
is.
and the and it right now these times are calling for um, a higher sense of urgency. I feel that in the organization as we move through all kinds of work that we're doing internally and externally in the leadership areas and our cohort and the ways that we engage all of us together as a community, there's a need to go deeper
Yes,
and to be more transparent in our love with each other. And there's the work, as scary as it is sometimes, of trying to repair spiritual harm and moral injury as it occurs. Um, and especially when we think about when I talk to people who are coming in with all these stories about their past experiences, wanting to be affirmed, but also to feel qualified to address these things. I have to say that Rev Diane, I feel like the team of teachers we had
Yes.
really compelled us and our love to get to it, and to trust ourselves, to trust our training, which I have to say has been the most impactful part of my adult life, outside of family. It really has been letting myself be prepared and trusting, learning how to trust that um, as I've continued to serve in One Spirit throughout the years.
Agreed. You know, there are things that are going to come our way that in the moment will certainly occur, like we're not prepared for it.
Hmm.
But then, as you said, there's trusting um, how we were developing the qualities and the attributes of
Hmm.
being a container of love, being a consciousness of love, being a champion for love, and also being willing to be challenged by love. You know, I think one of the unfortunate things is love gets a bad rap because everybody devolves it into this feeling. But
Hmm.
when you think about agape love, that requires some serious, serious grappling,
Yes.
like some real serious grappling. Like
Hmm.
some people present you with conditions and they show up very unlovable.
Yeah.
And am I going to actually honor what I believe in the face of that? And what is the
Hmm.
internal work for me to do to actually show up as the work? Not
My
the
goodness.
idea of it, not the ideology of it, but the actual, oh, the experience of it. That even if we both part ways and we still hold steadfast to what may occur as opposing views, that person has left me feeling held and honored.
That's one of the ways that I'm moving into the future, Rev, is that I'm seeing how many people am I interacting with that I hold opposing views from. And I was in a gathering recently with the recently retired Reverend Dean Carter Sr., and he was talking about, he was addressing our Buddhist community, and he said, "You will be fulfilling your teacher's words to you, his encouragement to you, when half this room is filled with non-Buddhists."
Mm, I
And it
love that.
really, it really gave us something to work with because, our spiritual communities can be so insular.
Yes.
Um, and there's so much judgment, even when we're talking about love and service, judgment of who needs service, who's qualified to serve, who can love correctly, who's poised to do it, who's a leader of this or that. And that's one of the reasons why I was so excited to talk to you today, because I feel like One Spirit in Action is one of the places in the organization, a very visible place where your qualifications are your heart and your interaction with this team, and and the ability to use your voice in service of your love and your heart on behalf of another's dignity, and on behalf of another's improved condition, whatever that might be, that we can have an impact on. Um, I'm seeing the time, and I cannot believe 20 minutes has moved this quickly.
It went very quickly, very quickly. But it always is when you know, one of the things that I love is your commitment. And it's really beyond a commitment. It's a consciousness of formation.
Hmm.
And it is both spiritual formation, but it also speaks to, if you will, like the formation of social liberation. And
Mm.
so one of the things that I love when we're engaged in these conversations is always the marrying of what one undertakes spiritually to have it transform who we are socially, because that is where the lived experience is. I
Yeah.
can say, I love God all I want, but am I loving, if you will, there's the ethereal, if you will, presence of the divine. But am
Hmm.
I loving what shows up in flesh and bone in front of me as God? And that sometimes is challenging. And so I love that you have us really delve into the forming of that, both for ourselves and for them in relationship. I really am interested in the layers of relationship, the trinity, if you will, of being both the relationship with oneself, the relationship with another, and then there's the relationship of several groups of another, whether we call that
Hmm.
family, etc.
Yeah. Um, I know we're winding up our time, but I appreciate your words of encouragement to me and acknowledgement. And it really, I can just keep going on and on with this, but it all loops back to these classes. And that's really the truth. I felt like I had a lot of questions, but this program really helped me to make the layers make sense for me, to put my heart into the real world without as much fear, of like there won't be a place for it. I knew there was a spiritual community that understood exactly where I was coming from and why I wanted to serve and would help me to serve and that I could
Yes,
help to serve. I'm not alone in this. And I know that there are some folks who have heard that we're in the process of building our next cohort. And perhaps they've gone to the website, which is onespirit.org, and maybe they've seen or have read the website, but I want to make a personal invitation for people to book a discernment call, to send an email with your inquiry, or even to comment on this video because we're receiving messages from all of those places, and we'd love to be in conversation with more folks about the training here and how it prepares people to serve in these times.
indeed, indeed. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be in dialogue with you. And
Thank
for
you.
those of you that join us, thank you so much for your attention and your
Thank
time.
you. Yes, and know that there is an info session this Saturday, August 1st, from 10:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. And that information is available on our website. You can also find it on our social pages. And so we look forward to the next time that One Spirit goes live. Thank you, Rev
Indeed.
Lori.
Thank you, Revelia.